Undead and Married is a romantic vampire cozy mystery and is book one in Andy Lowe's Blood Bond Agency series. The series is published by Squabbling Sparrows Press and is also available in ebook and paperback.
Chapter 17. Eva's hand strayed to her chest as she stared at Dominik before blurting out, "You think I'm gorgeous?" Blast it. That wasn't what she meant to ask him. What was wrong with her? Shouldn't she be more concerned about what he'd slipped into her drink? That he thought she was a killer? But no, it was whether he thought she was cute. It was enough to have her mentally rolling her eyes, although her heart still slowed while she waited for him to answer. He didn't, leaving her none the wiser. However, when he spoke, there was nothing flirtatious about his tone, the words harsh and fast. "Are you the killer? Because someone killed those young women and all the clues point to you or your grandmother." He closed the distance between them. Eva's attention was drawn to his dark brown eyes, which seemed to pull her in like a magnet. Her heart raced as he drew nearer, his energy radiating toward her. Eva's world centered on his dark brown eyes, deep pools in which she would happily drown. Yet again he took hold of her hand, his palm hard against hers, waiting until their heartbeats were once again back in sync. "By the will of Wodelia of the Dark Forest, you will tell me all." It was as if Eva had had a bucket of ice-cold water appended over her. No longer was she woozy and out of control. Her mind was sharp, as was her tongue. Her words flowed unheeded as she told him everything she knew about the murders, which wasn't a lot. There was nothing she could do to stop the spew of words. Nothing. On hearing herself telling him he was the most gorgeous man she'd ever laid eyes on, she could have happily cut out her own tongue. For all the good it would have done, because by then it was too late. She'd laid herself bare, proving both her innocence and her infatuation, a confession both cathartic and mortifying. His reaction was not what she expected. Rather than addressing the fact she was attracted to him, he instead focused on her not being responsible for the murdered backpackers. She was still reeling from her confession when Dominik took his hand away from hers. Released, she flew to her feet, sending her chair crashing to the stone patio. She thought twice about sending him over the edge of the wall next to their table and into the valley far below. Instead, she jumped over the side herself. Anything to put some distance between them. The last thing she saw before dropping like a stone to the valley floor was him on his feet, his face a mask of shock. She landed at the bottom of the cliff, none the worse for wear. The same wasn't true of her heels, which she flung into the nearest bush before taking off. She was then annoyed with herself at being disappointed that Dominik had chosen not to give chase. Eva swiped at her eyes, surprised to see the back of her hand was red. She hadn't cried in a couple of 100 years. Damn him. Desperate to put distance between her and the man she could still sense high overhead, Eva sprinted between the trees as though he were right behind her. Eva needed Didi and Lilith to find out what Dominik had hit her with. She could never be vulnerable like that again. Never. Despite her barefoot dash through the forest, on entering the agency through the back door, Eva's feet were none the worse for wear. She also arrived sooner than she would have thought possible. She'd never run that fast before, had she? The other thing she was unsure of was the condition of her heart. Rather than thumping out of her chest, it was slow even for her, as if broken. She slammed the bolts home before Didi spoke. It didn't come as a shock to Eva. She knew the woman was waiting for her, sensing it even before she punched in the access code and moved the heavy granite panel to one side. "What happened?" "You." Didi's words stuttered to a halt, and she reached out to wipe Eva's cheek. Her hand, when she took it away, was red with Eva's tears. Rather than pepper her with questions as she usually would, Didi put her arm around Eva's waist and steered her through the warren of passages to the family room. This haven was deep in the bowels of the building, and other than her bedroom, it was where Eva felt the safest. After settling Eva in a large, comfortable armchair, Didi bustled about preparing a mug of warm blood. Even hunched over, Eva picked up on the aromas of ginger and cinnamon, her heart already settling in anticipation of their calming properties. Sure enough, when she took the first sip, her world righted itself. She started off hesitantly, but soon imparted every bit of the whole sorry evening to Didi. The more Eva told of events, the darker the ancient vampire's eyes turned. It wasn't until Eva ran out of words and had finished her drink that Didi questioned her, prompting her to remember things she had forgotten. She was so foggy about events. Didi kneeled in front of Eva and took both her hands in hers. The toast you made. What were the exact words? Eva closed her eyes to center her thoughts. Not until she had the words set in her mind was she able to speak. To the undead. Long may we live as one. She opened her eyes to find Didi peering worriedly at her. And you say he was holding your hand? Yes. Eva shivered as she recalled the feeling of their energies combining. Palm to palm. Didi dropped Eva's hands and scrambled to her feet. I'll be back in a moment. Without further explanation, she ran from the room. Perhaps ran was an understatement. The woman left at such a speed that to anyone other than a vampire, it would appear as if she'd simply vanished. Her return was just as swift. However, she was now holding a large leather-bound volume. It wasn't one Eva was familiar with. Didi confirmed she knew the contents by heart when she quickly found what she was looking for. Money? Did you give him any money? Despite the random nature of the question, Eva thought hard on it. Didi wouldn't be asking without good reason. She hadn't gone near her purse, with her suspecting Dominik had ordered the wine before they'd even arrived. Blast, in her haste to get away, she'd left her purse at the bar. She would have to go back for it, but not tonight. No, I didn't, unless you count a couple of coins for the parking meter? Apparently, you do. The receptionist gasped and slammed the large volume shut. Not able to sit still, Didi paced back and forth across the large room, with it being Eva who eventually noticed the damage being done to the floorboards. Didi! The floor! For all the good it did, so deep in thought was the receptionist. She didn't acknowledge Eva's words in the slightest. It took Eva jumping to her feet and physically stopping the woman mid-stride for the worried pacing to come to a stop. Didi, what is it? What's wrong? Didi stared at Eva or a point right behind her, her lack of focus a concern. Eva didn't want to, but eventually she slapped the older vampire hard across the face. Anything to rid her oldest friend of that zombie-like expression. Didi, snap out of it. You. Eva expected to be admonished for hitting an older vampire. How wrong she was. You? I think you've bonded with him. Eva gave Didi a double take before breaking into nervous laughter. Trust her friend to lighten the mood. It took longer than it should have for her to notice that Didi wasn't looking amused in the slightest. She was anything but. You? You're kidding, right? Eva gripped Didi's shoulders tightly, hoping to stop herself from falling to her knees. Please tell me you're not serious. Didi shook her head slowly, a look of pity on her flawless face. I wish I were. But how? There was no ceremony. We shared no blood. It simply can't be. Are you sure about that? About the blood, I mean? Eva opened her mouth to answer a firm no, but she couldn't. What about the wine? Closing her eyes, she concentrated, bringing to mind the rich red wine with an intensity that made the flavors burst in her mouth. No, she detected nothing, and her vampiric senses were such that if there was even a molecule of blood present, she would have picked up on it. No, there wasn't any blood. Didi jerked out of Eva's hold to continue her pacing, although Eva was relieved to see she'd moved over and was giving the worn floorboards a rest. This time, her forced march came to a stop without Eva's intervention. What about energy? Did you share energy? A shiver traversed Eva's slight frame as she recalled the zing of energy that flooded her when Dominik had first taken her hand. She was unaware that she was nodding until Didi spoke. Vlad's blood. If I can't reverse this, it'll kill Georgia. You should have told me you were going out with Count Zilonka. I could have stopped this. Stopped what? Didi, what aren't you telling me? What don't I know about? The very act of asking these questions brought back memories of overheard conversations when she was a kid. Of her grandmother and Didi cutting themselves short when she entered a room. How could she have been so unquestioning about their behavior? After steering Didi over to the large couch, she pushed the older vampire into its depths before joining her. Eva suspected she wouldn't like what she was about to hear. Chapter 18. Eva gaped at Didi, her mind a blur of images, recollections of overheard conversations, and a crushing sense of dismay. No wonder Georgia hated Natalia Zilonka as much as she did. Her hands clasped in her lap, Didi stared straight ahead as if looking into the past. She loved Lysander above all others. As he loved her. If not for Natalia using black magic to steal him away, they'd have been together still. Lysander? Lysander, as in Dominik's energetic doppelganger? That Lysander? If someone had lured Eva's love match away using dark magic, she would have been angry too. Especially if they were as gorgeous and charismatic as Dominik. It also explained her connection to him, given they were related. And not distantly either, but cousins. Before she could fire more questions at Didi, a bell tinkled upstairs. Eva froze, sending her energy out and up. While he hadn't followed her when she left the bar, he was here now. With Didi still in a daze, Eva sprung to her feet. She didn't slow until she was in the middle of the reception area. To see Dominik standing there came as no surprise, his unique energy signature getting stronger with each step she had taken. Now, what was she supposed to do? Throw him out? Find him a wife? He held her purse out, but when she didn't move to take it, he placed it carefully on the arm of the Chesterfield. Only when he moved away did she step forward and retrieve it, hugging it hard against her chest like a talisman. When he spoke, his words were soft, apologetic, and contrite. All I used on you was a simple truth spell. That's all. Simple. Eva ripped open her purse to check if there were any hidden charms nestled in its depths. There was nothing simple about what happened to me. With each word, Eva inched closer, her eyes locked with his. With every step, their breathing grew louder. Eventually, she was so close she could feel the heat emanating from his body, the energy between them intensifying. As she gazed up at him, her body buzzed with longing. It was as if she was being drawn in by an invisible force, and it took every ounce of her self-will to step back. Ignoring the desire that swirled around her like a tangible thing left her breathless. Even knowing they were cousins, the strength of her response was surprising, with it nothing like the connection she shared with her grandmother. And if he was her cousin, she shouldn't be having thoughts of ripping his shirt off and tracing her tongue across the planes of his chest. Nor should she be thinking about how it would feel to have his skin rub against hers. It was a forbidden desire, and one she knew she couldn't act upon. This had her shaking her head to clear it of any further thoughts about what she'd like to do to him. Dominik stared at her, his eyes wide as though privy to her thoughts. It was enough to have her crossing her fingers that it wasn't so. He took a while to get the words out, and when he did, they were halting. Exactly what did you experience? Because I suspect it was the same for me and my glass didn't have a truth spell cast on it. So that was how he did it. Could it be that was what the phone call was about when they had first arrived? She knew her powers of observation weren't that bad. If there was anything in the bottom of her glass before he poured the wine, she would have noticed. Whereas his glass was as clean as hers. Could Didi be right that Eva was related to Dominik? Was that what they were both picking up on? But how was she supposed to raise the subject of his grandmother poaching George's love bond away using brute force and black magic? For all Eva knew, he could think Natalia Zilonka was the best thing since chopped liver. Please, let's go into my office. Despite there being no one around, what Eva wanted to discuss with him was best said in private. She'd shut the door in Didi's face, and they were both seated before Eva could find the words she was looking for. Perhaps it was sitting behind her grandmother's imposing desk that gave her the confidence. Either way, once she started, she didn't stop until she imparted the whole sorry story of the bad blood between Natalia and Georgia. He caught on as quickly as she had earlier, his horror at the news matching her own. She wasn't sure if it was for the same reason, until he spoke. So, you're saying we're related? It looks that way. That could explain Eva didn't want to put into words the weird mix of attraction and emotion currently swirling between them. And if the speed with which Dominik closed down his own energy was any indicator, he agreed. I apologize for the truth spell, Ms. De Silva. It was wrong of me, but we need to find out who's responsible for the murders. It's drawing unwanted attention to our people. Something we could well do without right now. Please, if we're cousins, you can call me Eva. Likewise, please call me Dominik. He held his hand out, and Eva took it gingerly. There was nothing cousinly about the sparks that shot up her arm. She jerked her hand back, an action matched by Dominik, although he didn't rub his arm as she did. Surely this bond of theirs went beyond being related? Until she grilled Didi further, she would park it. Right now, they needed to discuss the murders, especially with the evidence pointing firmly to a vampire being the culprit. Eva doubted Dominik was responsible, unless his investigation of the murders was some sort of weird double bluff designed to point the finger at others. I have to ask. Eva paused before pressing on. I take it you're not responsible either? His affront at her suggestion was answer enough. Fine, I believe you. Eva waited a beat before adding, and it's not my grandmother, as I told you at the bar. She's out of the country. As for Didi and Lilith, we were all together for the last 2 murders. We're each other's alibis. However, I know who could be behind them. Eva looked at the window that faced the square. Or at least which direction we should look in. On turning back to face him, Eva found him with an eyebrow arched in query. We? Yes, we. If you think I'm not involving myself when whoever is responsible is pointing the finger at me, you are mistaken. Eva straightened, taking strength from the leather chair at her back. To further bolster her determination, she crossed her arms. Fair enough. Where do we start? Once again, Eva spilled the goods, although this time there was no truth spell required. She then summarized her 10-minute tirade about Sebastian Draco by stating, he wants to destroy the Blood Bond Agency while Georgia is out of town. He's after our clients. It was only then she added something she hadn't in her earlier rant. Also, he wants to marry me and knows blackmail is the only way that's happening. It was her ultimate point that made Dominik sit up and take notice. He wants to marry you? That's what he says, but not because he has any feelings for me. He wants the power bonding with a hematite will give him. I suspect once we consummated the bond, I'd find myself well and truly staked. Dominik glared in the general direction of love bites before muttering, that's not happening. He added nothing further, leaving her in the dark about what he wouldn't let happen. That Sebastian would drive her grandmother's business into the ground, pin the murders on Georgia or Eva, or that he would force her into marrying him? You say he's been out to destroy the agency? How so? I can't imagine he would take Georgia on head-to-head. And anyway, he's more about casual hookups than matrimony. He prefers his clients to flit from partner to partner rather than get hitched. More repeat business that way. Eva hesitated. Should she keep quiet about the theft of the Chronicle, or ask Dominik for his help in getting it back? As it was, her finding him a wife was a bust. Her usual method of matching people based on energy was futile, with their own energy melding as it did. Their connection now being what it was, she wouldn't have a hope of sensing an energy match between him and another woman. That decided it. The murders aren't the only crime that's taken place recently. This had his attention. He leaned forward, closing the distance between them. Someone has taken the agency's chronicle of clients from a secure room in the basement. We know how it happened. We even know who took it, but we can't prove anything. Eva didn't go into details about the chronicle itself. The fewer people who knew about what a powerful and dangerous document it was, the better. Georgia had referenced World War V often enough when discussing the compilation of names and bloodlines for Eva to be aware of the dangers. Dominik smiled broadly. Ah, that explains it. Eva frowned, unsure of what he found so amusing. Explains what? The caliber of matches you presented to me. They were appalling and not what I had expected when using your services. If it were possible for Eva to blush, she would. She couldn't argue with her lack of professionalism in throwing those potential matches at him. Georgia would pitch a fit if she ever found out. Hopefully, she never would. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I was at my wit's end. They fell into silence, though it was anything but quiet in Eva's head. Eventually, she blurted out a random question. Can you move about during the day? Surely, as a hematite, he should be able to. She could, but had learned the hard way never to take anything for granted with the various abilities of her people. I can. And you? At her brief nod, he pressed on. What do you have in mind? I was thinking if you help me get the chronicle back, then I can help you track the murderer. Are you up for a little breaking and entering? His broad grin was all the answer she needed. Eva looked at her watch. It was close to 6 in the morning, a time that would usually see her getting ready to go to bed for the day. Can you meet me back here at 11? I've got a few things I need to get ready. She didn't let on that the thing she most needed to get ready was herself. It had been a full-on night with her nerves shot. Despite being able to move around during the day, Eva needed to rest for a few hours before she and Dominik got up to no good. No sooner had she thought this, than her mind was full of exactly the sort of no good she wanted to get up to with the delectable Dominik. She thought she'd kept this to herself until she saw Dominik's expression. Cousin he might be, but there was nothing family about the way his gaze was caressing her. She was still dealing with this when a spike of energy flashed across the desk, hitting her in places it had no right. But that felt so right. He was busy apologizing when her energy connected with his, leaving the rest of his words trapped, his eyes wide and fangs extended. After that, he couldn't leave soon enough. The only one not in agreement with Eva's rough and ready plan to get the chronicle back was Didi. Can you trust him? Eva squared her shoulders, needing to answer the same question again. Yes, I can. Although I don't know why, okay? I can't explain it, but I know I can. He's as keen to see an end to these murders as we are. If I can get him to help me get the chronicle back while I'm at it, I will. Seeing Didi biting her lip hard enough to draw blood, Eva pressed on. Didi, Sebastian is dead to the world during the day, so the best time to check out his place is then. Plus, hemathites won't have anything to do with him on a personal level, so any guards we run into will be human. But Lilith and I should be with you. It is as Georgia would want, Didi insisted. You can't come with me unless it's at night. And you know what a mess that would be. No, this is my best shot, and I refuse to allow that odious man to force me into a loveless marriage. Eva broke into a sob, and the older vampire dragged her into a tight embrace, rubbing her back in circles, as she used to when Eva was little. Darling girl, I'll take him out myself before I let that happen to you. You know that, right? Eva leaned back in the embrace to look Didi in the eye. And spark a war. I promise, after I get the chronicle back, you can drain Sebastian all you like.
If you've enjoyed these chapters, we'd love it if you could give them a thumbs up. And if you'd like to continue the story, you can subscribe and tap the bell to be notified when the next chapter is released.